What is up, guys? It is TheCitrusPanda here today, and I'm coming at you with a review for episode 2 of Log Horizon. Let's do this. Basically, what this episode was about, I'm just going to give a quick little overview. I want to make these videos a little bit shorter than I made the last one, just so you can get the gist of the episode really quickly. Also, last episode I failed to mention that this is taking place in Elder Tale. It's like an online game, it's a world. And there's 30,000 people exclusively on the Japan server, and then there's hundreds of thousands of other people online, but they're not in the Japan server, so I don't know if we'll be seeing them. Anyway, so what happened in episode 2? Right off the bat, they gave us something that we really needed, and something I was actually wondering. I asked the question in the last episode, and it just came right ahead and just answered the question, which is great. What happens when you die? The episode actually opened up with a guy like sitting down in a cathedral, which is a place where you respawn if you die in the actual game, and he respawned. So when you die, you basically just respawn, but later in the episode it was said that people are PKing because you can get people's items and gold. So is it like if you die you lose your gold and your items, or maybe they drop but you still keep them, or you drop half of them, or I don't know. We still have to see that because it wasn't really clarified in this episode. In addition, it was also clarified that there are multiple classes. There are main classes and subclasses. Now, the subtitle said that you can have 12 main combat classes, which seemed kind of weird to me. I thought maybe it was like 2. The subtitle said 12. I thought maybe it was a translation error. Maybe, maybe not. So, the subtitle said 12, but it seems kind of weird that you'd be able to have 12 main classes. But then you're able to have as many as you want subclasses. So Akatsuki, she's the little assassin. She is a tracker and an assassin. So she's a tracker and an assassin. Trackers, they don't make a lot of noise, as well as being able to track other people. So they're good for like following people because they can't be followed. They're really quiet, but they can also follow other people. She's an assassin, so she uses like sneaky tactics. We also figure out that Notsugu is a guardian character, and he fits in the genre of a tank. And what he actually does is he uses Anchor Howl, and what Anchor Howl does is it makes everybody attack him, and I'll get into that in a minute. Overall, everybody fits into the team quite perfectly, and Shiro is an enchanter and a scribe, so he uses enchantments and things to help out his team, as well as he's a good map maker, I guess, because at the end of the episode, he was looking at a map, and it was mentioned that he was a scribe. So, basically what happened in this episode, we figured out in the beginning that you can actually live if you die. Then, later on, they encounter a group of PKers. So, Shiro, Akatsuki, and Notsugu are faced with a group of PKers. Now, right off the bat, they knew what they were going to do, and right off, I also want to say that this anime does not suffer from what I would call Kirito syndrome. I'm not making fun of Sword Art Online. I'm just saying that they seem like they have to work together, and without like working together, they would die. And when you have a character that can't die, it makes the anime a lot less enjoyable because you know that they're gonna win, no matter what the fight is. So in this one, they're kind of weak without each other. Like Shiro isn't strong without his other teammates, and vice versa. So Notsugu basically uses this one thing when people are charging at Shiro. He uses Anchor Howl, which makes everybody force to attack Notsugu instead of Shiro. Meanwhile, Akatsuki is taking out all of the ambushers and the surrounding forest, so they were doing some pretty dang good teamwork there. Also, what happened is Shiro was using his enchantment spells, binding spells, and then just some minor changes to the opponents. So he uses astral spells a lot, so I'm not really sure what that's all about, but things like astral bind that make people stay still, a thorn astral bind sort of thing, like where thorns wrap around the person, and then if an ally comes along, like Notsugu, hits them, the thorns will explode, dealing 1,000 damage, which actually got one of the people killed. Now, the PKers did have a healer, but the healer was put to sleep by Astral Hypno. It's like Hypnos or something like that. It's a hypnosis spell that Shiro used. So you can tell he's a really big support character. He puts them to sleep, But they didn't notice this because earlier in the match, he used this special ability with these little blue shining ball things, and they kind of like laughed at it. But what they did is like they kind of like jammed their senses, and they couldn't actually notice that their teammate was asleep the whole time. So their person ended up dying because they thought they could be healed, but they really couldn't. So right after that, basically they go to a guild hall, and in the guild hall, they are faced with the predicament of a person named Surara, who was in the guild of the people who were at the guild house. The guild that Shiro kind of was a part of, but he wasn't actually in the guild. It was just a group of people, and then those people split off and made their own guild. Now, these people, they wanted to have Shiro take care of the guild while they go get her from another city. She was the person at the end of the last episode, who was being attacked but then saved by another person. So they were going to go and pick her up from another city, and Shiro volunteered himself and his team to go. So now it's almost like a damsel in distress, kinda generic, but at the same time it's not really a damsel in distress because it's like reverse almost, because the people saved her. There was a guild in the other town, so she's not in any immediate danger. She's safe. So it's kind of just like you gotta go and you gotta help her get her back. So it's not super urgent or anything, I don't think, at least. And she's just hanging out at the other town. Now, the weird thing is that really quickly before I end the video here, he did summon these griffins with a flute so that they can get there faster. And the flute he got from a raid, like a really important raid or a dungeon earlier, off camera, obviously, before all this started. And it was pretty cool. He could just summon griffins, and maybe he has other powerful items from these raids he was doing. Also, I just want to touch on this really quickly because it's actually an important part of the anime. I think it's like actually the world in the game or in the anime is like actual Japan, but like if it was a fantasy Japan, because they're showing like an area and it's like 800 kilometers, but then they cut it in half, so it's like 400 kilometers. That's still a lot of ground to cover, and it was going to take them like 21 days or something like that. But with the flying griffins, who knows how short or long the journey will be. So, only time will tell, and episode 2 was actually better than episode 1, which is always good to see. And I'll see you guys back here next week for another review. See you.